Chosen one. The trap was perfect, until you didn't fall. Stop. Absolutely do not scroll any further. Listen to that voice from your intuition. It's been continuously knocking on the door of your mind and warning you for days. Hasn't it recently? Has there been an indescribable sense of unease clinging to you? A churning restlessness in your gut? Even though outwardly everything seems perfectly normal, you start doubting yourself. Wondering if you're overthinking, becoming too sensitive, or just being paranoid. No, hear this loud and clear. You are not paranoid. This video appearing right before your eyes at this exact moment is an emergency signal. A direct confirmation from the universe. Don't leave yet. Because if you scroll past this right now, you will miss the most crucial clue to completely turn the tables on those targeting you. Your intuition is operating at absolute precision. A dark, heavy energy disguised under a perfect cover has been seen through. It's a radiant smile on the lips, but cold. Empty eyes. It's an excessive enthusiasm. A fake concern that gives you the creeps. It's those conversations where, as soon as they end, your life force feels completely drained. Don't ignore those signs, because the universe is confirming an incredibly serious truth. A deadly trap has just been set right behind your back. People with malicious intentions have gathered, smiling amicably while carefully weaving every mesh of their web of lies. They are certain that with this performance, they will lead the chosen one by the nose and gleefully wait for the moment of your downfall. But keep watching, because in just a few minutes, the secret of why this very trap will turn into their own death sentence will be revealed. They chose the wrong target. They thought they could hide behind a few cheap, worldly tricks, completely unaware that the divine had secretly revealed their entire filthy script beforehand. Your spiritual intuition has read the invisible ink behind every spoken word. Their betrayal was seen through when it was merely a seed. Therefore, in this crucial hour, if you have a gut feeling that someone is playing a two-faced game, what you need to do right now is take a deep breath. There is no need to panic. No need to interrogate or scream to prove your innocence. Absolutely do not leave right now, because the final part of this message will hand you the key to using silence as a weapon of mass destruction. When you watch until the final seconds, all the surrounding darkness will automatically be exposed, and you will know how to let the divine step in on your behalf. The message is crystal clear. Stand still. All judgments have already been arranged. Right now, lock down your energy boundaries. Type this phrase in the comments. This light crushes all darkness to seal your faith and completely strip away all the enemy's power. Hit subscribe, save, and share this message immediately. This is a summoning order for the silent warriors. Keep watching, because right now, the entire truth about how your enemies are digging their own graves will be exposed, riding on this fiery energy and absolute protection from the divine. Let's dive into the very core of the matter. Do not take your eyes off the screen, because what is unraveled from this minute until the very last second of the video will grant you an unprecedented privilege. Stay to fully receive the message, because once you completely understand this entire play by the end, no dark force will ever be able to touch the hem of your garment again. Let's look straight at the harsh reality unfolding. Why are your enemies so arrogantly confident? Why do they dare to celebrate victory even before the curtain falls? Why are they 100% certain that this time, the chosen one will collapse, will fall, will completely shatter? The answer lies in a fatal miscalculation. Their most vicious lie isn't about exploiting your weaknesses. No, this trap is far more sophisticated and despicable than that. They took aim straight at the brightest light inside you. They weaponized the holiest, most sacred qualities that the divine has placed within this soul. They have been secretly observing. They noted every reaction. They saw a forgiving nature always ready to give a second, third, or even 10th chance. They saw a habit of taking a step back, disliking drama, avoiding arguments and explanations just to keep a fake peace. They saw that you always strive to find that rare spark of goodness inside rotting souls. And from those things, they drew an incredibly foolish conclusion. Hear this loud and clear in the dictionary of manipulators. Compassion is equated with weakness. Your softness and tolerance are seen by them as signs of a weak person incapable of fighting back. And your commanding silence is mocked by them as the naivety and foolishness of someone who is clueless. They were certain that just by shedding a few fake tears, uttering a few hollow apologies, or putting on a pitiful face, your protective shield would automatically drop. They padded that deadly trap with the velvet of fake concern, with sweet flattery. The most brutal betrayal never comes from a stinging slap, but always from a tight embrace, just like the kiss of Judas in the dark night at the Garden of Gethsemane, a kiss symbolizing love and connection, but essentially a signal to hand the Son of Man over to destruction. The enemy used that exact kiss. They got really close, smiled brightly, acted loyal and empathetic, only to secretly weave a net tightening around your reputation, your spirit, and your mission. They were confident because they thought they had hacked your psychological operating system. They firmly believed that someone who always chooses to suffer in silence would never dare to rise up and expose the truth. They were waiting for panic. They craved to see your breakdown and disorientation, wanting you to run and beg for mercy from the very people who stabbed you in the back. You think this is the pinnacle of cruelty? Don't leave yet. The deeper you get into this video, the more their panic will be exposed. What awaits ahead will be the most epic turning of the tables ever witnessed, because they were dead wrong, a ridiculous delusion. They thought they were leading you by the nose. But in reality, they are performing a circus act on a stage where you bought a front row ticket. The chosen one is not being led in the dark. Your spiritual intuition has turned on the high beams, shining straight onto their every filthy move. Every cracking layer of their masks is clearly seen. The grinding gears of deceit in their every word are heard loud and clear. You sit there, motionless, silent, not out of fear, but because you are letting them freely act out the clown role of their lives. When a person has seen through all the cards on the table, they don't need to shout to prove they are winning. That silence is a verdict. That softness is a razor-sharp reverse trap that cuts off all their malicious intents. Their trap was, indeed, perfect, a masterpiece of psychological manipulation. But wait. Focus intensely right now. Absolutely do not scroll away. If that trap was designed to the exact millimeter based on your psychological profile and old habits, why did it miss its mark so miserably? Why did the poisoned arrow shatter right before touching your spiritual armor? The fatal flaw, a massive loophole sending them straight into the abyss, will be revealed right now. Be patient and stay until the very end of this video, because in the final minutes, a spiritual privilege will be handed directly to you to permanently seal your peace. Don't leave, because in just a few seconds, a truth will give you goosebumps as you realize just how terrifyingly you have transformed and leveled up. A new power has been activated, and the enemy is trembling as they realize they messed with an inextinguishable fire. That fire is blazing, burning down all the outdated data they once used to evaluate you. Let's face this truth. Their trap was extremely perfect. Yes, brutally perfect. It was woven with the most sophisticated tactics, the smoothest words, but there was one colossal flaw they never saw coming. That exquisite trap was custom designed. But it was for the old version of you. They went through the trouble of gathering data on someone from the past, someone who once craved love so much they were willing to lower their self-worth, someone who was terrified of loneliness and abandonment, someone who used to bite their tongue, compromise, and endure time and time again just to keep a fake peace. They thought that just by reopening old wounds, pressing your old trauma buttons, the chosen one would obediently bow down and crawl right into the cage they set up. But they failed miserably. They didn't know that. In the most silent, dark nights, when left in absolute solitude, you did not break. You quietly picked up every shattered piece of yourself. The tears shed in the dark washed away all weakness. The agonizing pain chiseled your soul. You healed yourself. You rose up. You were reborn. Now, they bring guns, nets, and a massive army, only to hunt a ghost that no longer exists. The easily manipulated person of the past has permanently vanished from this earth. The enemy is panicking, frantically pulling their hair out because they are desperately firing rusty weapons at a brand new suit of spiritual armor. Didn't the Holy Word declare with absolute authority in the book of Isaiah, "Forget the former things, do not dwell on the past. See, I am doing a new thing." The past is closed. That new thing is you right at this moment. You are a new creation, carrying a radiant and invincible frequency. The fragile boundaries and people-pleasing tendencies of the past have now been forged into a wall of steel. Kindness is no longer a blind handout. It now walks hand in hand with the razor-sharp sword of discernment. No one, no force has the right to use the past to threaten or manipulate your future for another second. You have graduated from that painful lesson. Those cheap emotional manipulation tricks are now completely useless. Right now, activate this powerful destiny shift. If you realize you no longer fall for the old tricks, if you feel the radiant power surging through your veins, leave a comment, "I am reborn." Type it with power. Let that phrase become a spiritual shield protecting your new frequency, sealing the glorious victory of the light. And focus intensely, because this spectacular upgrade of yours has accidentally triggered a bizarre radar system. In the next part, you will understand why you could smell that sinister trap long before it was even set. Just how terrifying is the clairvoyance of the chosen one. Don't blink. The secret will be unlocked right now. That spiritual radar is not just a standard defense tool. It is a supreme gift of enlightenment. The brilliant upgrade from those silent dark nights has activated a razor-sharp third eye, a clairvoyance that no evildoer can hide from. Don't think anyone can deceive you with a few layers of perfect outward disguise. Never. The chosen one never has to naively wait until a cold knife is plunged into their back to shockingly realize they've been betrayed. No, the betrayal was caught when it was merely a ripple in their minds. They thought they could cover their malice with well-rehearsed surface actions. But they forgot an absolute truth of the universe. Words can lie. Actions can be faked. But energy never, ever lies. Remember that moment. That moment when everything seemed perfectly normal. But deep in your gut, an alarm bell was roaring. You noticed the anomaly right from the very first vibrations in the air. You didn't need any physical evidence. The proof was in the very disrupted frequency of the space around you. It was a radiant smile carefully painted on the lips, but a chilling coldness that couldn't reach the eyes. A soulless, deadly smile. It was an excessive, suffocating attentiveness that was completely out of sync with the natural rhythm. Why the sudden, extreme concern? Why the sudden, empty compliments and unexpected gifts? That enthusiasm reeked of a dark conspiracy. The chosen one has the ability to gather data through every breath the other person takes. An invisible hesitation. A bizarre, calculating pause between the most seemingly normal sentences cannot slip through this spiritual filter. When they tried to approach your body, a divine frequency measuring machine automatically reacted. A churning stomach, goosebumps down your spine, an overwhelming urge to step back and slam the door on your personal space. That wasn't oversensitivity. That wasn't paranoia. That was the survival instinct of a soul warned by the divine. When they sent those sweet messages, those sky-high flatteries, or promises of a beneficial future, your intuition automatically turned on the UV light. And then, the bitter, sinister, invisible ink hidden between the lines appeared clear as day. Ordinary people only read what is written on the screen, but the Chosen One hears exactly what they are desperately trying to hide. Reading the burning jealousy behind a congratulation, smelling the exploitation behind a flashy invitation, clearly seeing the poisoned blade hidden within seemingly sincere advice. All their camouflage efforts suddenly became ridiculous, cheap, and pathetic before those sharp eyes. They thought they were weaving a magnificent velvet curtain to blind the world. But in the eyes of the Chosen One, it was nothing more than a ragged, hole-ridden piece of cloth, and this is the destined flip that changes the entire nature of the game. Carve this into your heart. You are not looking at their physical actions. You are scanning the barcode of their souls. When your spiritual vision expands, the physical world is just an illusion. Their actions, no matter how sophisticated, are just the tip of a dark iceberg. Scanning the soul's barcode allows you to see straight to the root of the rot inside, seeing the deep-seated insecurities that make them crave bringing others down just to feel validated, seeing the unhealed traumas that turned them into toxic narcissists, and at that exact moment, the initial anger instantly vanishes, making way for a cold, calm wisdom. There is no more resentment toward a human being, because now, the entire battlefield has been elevated to a completely different dimension. This revelation is a quantum leap. What is targeting you isn't just the pettiness and envy of mere mortals. This is a spiritual warfare at the highest level, behind those familiar faces, behind those trying so hard to act, is the manipulation of dark forces. You have seen through the spirits of jealousy, greed, and pride, the monitoring and sabotaging spirits frantically pulling the strings from the shadows. The people trying to harm you are actually just pitiful, energy-drained puppets, manipulated by a prolonged dark system. They act on dark instincts that they themselves do not fully realize or control. They follow the orders of invisible puppeteers who are bitter because they cannot extinguish the blinding light radiating from the soul of the Chosen One. Upon realizing the true nature of the forces behind this, all feelings of confusion completely evaporate. Every dark thought that just sprouted in their minds was caught and fully decoded by your spiritual defense system. They wasted effort staging a grand play, drained themselves acting, but didn't know the script was already in your hands before the velvet curtain even went up. You know exactly what their next move is. You know what they will say, how they will twist things, and who they will use as pawns. Everything is crystal clear. They thought you were blind. They were absolutely certain their plan was on track and the net was tightening. Their delusion reached the peak of absurdity, and this is the absolute climax of this entire battle. The moment destiny bends, when you have seen through every card in the enemy's hand, when you know every move of the spiritual forces behind them, your next reaction is the most ruthless, terrifying thing to their arrogant egos. Absolutely do not leave. Everything is just beginning. The most epic, terrifying counterattack of the light doesn't lie in screaming to prove a point or making a lot of noise, but in a weapon no one expects. Watch how the Chosen One flips the chessboard, delivering a fatal blow that shatters their entire matrix right in the next part. So, having seen through that entire spiritual matrix, holding their filthy script entirely in your hands, what will you do? They crave a reaction. They are starving for your panic. Every sophisticated setup, every filthy lie thrown out has one single purpose: to drain your emotional fuel. They want you to scream. They expect you to go crazy. Post exposures online. Justify yourself. and cry to prove your innocence. Why? Because the exact moment you lose control, they will immediately seize that opportunity, point the finger at you, and play the most heartless. Innocent victims, they use your outrage to legitimize their trap. But no, the chosen one never jumps into the mud to wrestle with those who belong to the darkness. You did something beyond their wildest, craziest calculations. A counterattack that didn't cost a single drop of sweat yet carried the power to destroy the enemy's entire system. You did absolutely nothing. Absolutely no exposing took place. Not a single scream. Not a single loud justification. You took a step back, stepped out of the turbulence of worldly emotions, and established an intimidatingly silent boundary. You maintained absolute silence. But oh, chosen one, that silence is not submission, it is a siege strategy at the highest level. You deliberately let them continue. That's right, you paved the way for them to complete the trap. You let them comfortably weave the final meshes, freely playing their most cowardly cards. Why speak up to stop them when the enemy is busy digging their own grave? Why interrupt the play when they are exposing their true nature to the light? The wisdom of an awakened soul lies in knowing how to let the truth complete its own cycle. And then, that destined moment happened. The moment all their arrogance was smashed to pieces. When the trap was sprung, instead of collapsing, instead of fearing, instead of begging, you smiled. A gentle, nonchalant, peaceful smile, yet carrying the power of a fatal blow that splits the sky. That smile was a death sentence for their egos. It wasn't a smile of joy. It was the smile of a higher being looking down at the struggling of low-level souls. That smile sent out a wordless message that roared like thunder in their ears. I have seen it all, and I am not afraid. The second that smile appeared, everything completely flipped. Your frequency of absolute silence smashed their entire manipulation system. The sense of power they mistakenly thought they held evaporated in a split second. They started to panic. Why isn't the chosen one reacting? Why are there no tears? Why is there no breakdown? When they didn't receive the resistance to use as fuel to continue, their plan automatically collapsed. All their lies became brazen and ridiculous. Without your cooperation in that play, they suddenly became monologists on an empty stage. Their fake masks automatically cracked due to extreme confusion. They frantically made excuses, tried to cover things up, and in that very panic, their true faces were exposed to the light in the clearest way possible. The people around started to see the rot. The truth of the matter automatically surfaced. You didn't have to open your mouth to expose anyone. The truth itself had its own voice. Every malicious intent was dismantled without the chosen one having to dirty even a single fingertip. The wisdom of the universe always operates on unbreakable laws of cause and effect. The holy word in the book of Proverbs stated it clearly. Like a verdict stamped from heaven, whoever digs a pit will fall into it. If someone rolls a stone, it will roll back on them. Proverbs 2:6, 2:7. It absolutely cannot miss. They went through the trouble of digging a very deep pit, hiding it carefully under layers of camouflage leaves, waiting for you to fall in. But because you didn't step in, because you only stood at the edge of the pit, smiling down, they lost their balance and threw themselves headfirst into that very dark pit. The perfect trap created by their own hands ultimately became the prison that locked up their own lives. The most ruthless part of karma is letting the wicked destroy themselves with their own schemes. Your silence is supreme authority. Authority doesn't lie in who shouts louder, but in who can maintain their peace when the earth shakes. If you belong to this tribe of silent warriors, if you have ever used a smile to freeze all the malicious intents of your enemies, hit subscribe right now. Join this energy circle so we can empower each other every day, protecting our radiant frequency from all defilement. But wait. Hold your breath. Did you know that this entire horrifying ordeal was not a coincidence? Don't think that things naturally appear and naturally disappear. There was a supreme director behind the scenes arranging every tiny detail of this play. The final plot twist in parts 5 will make you burst into tears of relief as you realize just how massively and greatly you have been protected. That great protection didn't come from stopping the storm, but from the divine directly turning that very storm into a launching pad. Never carry the thought that the universe turned its back on you. Never assume that the divine abandoned you by letting those dark forces approach and hurt the chosen one. Completely wrong. This event, this deadly trap, was allowed to happen not to drown a pure soul into the mud. It happened to elevate your entire being, consciousness, and destiny to a height no one can touch. They were madly arrogant. They beat their chests, claiming to be the directors of other people's lives. They thought they were writing a perfect script of destruction, manipulating every move. But right in the middle of the climax scene, right at the moment they eagerly believed they would witness the ultimate downfall, the Most High stepped directly onto the stage. He snatched the pen from the hands of the wicked, tore that filthy script to shreds, and rewrote the entire ending right in the middle. Wake up and carve this truth into your heart. You were never lured in to be a victim, that brutal situation, that bitter betrayal. It was all a divine setup. The divine placed the chosen one right in the eye of the storm, dropped you into the very depths of the liar's den, to be a witness carrying the eyes of the light, infiltrating and recording the entire rot, emptiness, and toxicity of a whole system hiding under the guise of morality. They arrogantly thought they were tossing a shovel of dirt to bury a life. But they were too stupid to realize that what they just buried was a divine seed. The massive pressure from the betrayal, isolation, and lies couldn't suffocate that seed. On the contrary, it broke the old shell, helping the sprout pierce the soil, reach for the light, and bloom more radiantly and powerfully than ever before. The truth of 1,000 years has never deviated. The Bible inscribed an immortal principle that shatters all the malicious intents of the darkness. You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good. Genesis 50:20. Every dark scheme aimed at you has had its trajectory bent by the divine weapons meant for destruction were transformed into a lever of ascension. Right now, if you are standing proudly on the ruins of that trap, if you feel the hot blood of a warrior surging and find yourself stronger than ever, share this video immediately. Send this message to those who are confused, crying in the dark because they were betrayed and manipulated. Let this glorious rise become a lighthouse, shining and guiding lost souls to find their true power. And here, O chosen one, is the final verdict that closes this entire war. A truth that will be pinned into the minds of your enemies, haunting them for the rest of their lives. Listen very carefully. Their trap did not fail. Not at all. It worked perfectly. It snapped shut with absolute precision, sharpness, and ruthlessness. Only one single thing fell outside their calculations. The prey caught in the trap, the one locked tight, unmasked, and crushed inside that deadly cage, was actually them. O chosen one, engrave these final declarations into the very depths of your consciousness. The truth is, there was never a single second, never a tiny moment, where you were in danger of falling. All threats, all dirty tricks were just ridiculous illusions of the darkness. Long before the enemy's poisoned arrow could even leave the bowstring, an invisible protective shield of radiant light was activated, completely covering this life. They are going crazy, writhing in extreme bitterness and helplessness. Why? Because you flat out refused to step into that filthy chess game. You didn't bother playing by their cheap rules of manipulation. The chosen one only walks and follows a single system, the absolute guidance of the divine. Therefore, absolutely do not look back. Do not waste even a single glance or a fragile thread of regret on those left behind at the bottom of the trap they set with their own hands. That is the karma they must carry themselves. It is the verdict they wrote for their own lives. What you need to do right now is reach up. Brush off all the ashes and dirty dust of the past, lingering on your proud shoulders. Smile your brightest, most liberated smile, and take powerful strides straight into your true, grand mission. The place of the chosen one is high above, where low frequencies can never reach. You stand here, touring, strong, breathing the breaths of eternal freedom. This radiant existence is the most vivid proof, the most ironclad affirmation that shatters all the enemy's malicious intents. The light of the chosen one will never, ever be extinguished. Don't forget to like and save this video right now. Keep it as a spiritual shield, so you can turn it on and listen again whenever the darkness dares to approach. Whenever you need a powerful confirmation from the universe,